A Tunisian court has handed down sentences ranging from 10 years to life against opposition leader Rachid Ghannouchi and dozens of other defendants in the so-called secret apparatus case involving the Ennahda party. The Tunis Court of First Instance on Tuesday sentenced Ghannouchi, the leader of Ennahda and a former parliamentary speaker, to life in prison plus 30 years on terrorism-related charges, to life in prison, 30 years official news agency. Tunisia's official Free Press, Tunisia's
Quetta. The Balochistan National Party, BNP Mengal, on Tuesday condemned an alleged raid on the home of a senior party leader and their subsequent detention and demanded their immediate release. During a press conference, BNP Mengal senior vice president advocate Sajid Tareen alleged that following a clash between security forces and armed elements in the Bulbul area of Zehri, personnel entered the residence of Sardar Nasir Ahmed Muziani.
Islamabad. The Supreme Court has upheld a sentence awarded to a child rapist and a murderer, ruling that individuals who voluntarily become intoxicated cannot claim exemption from criminal liability. Intoxication caused by one's own negligence or recklessness does not excuse the offence, affirmed Justice Mohammed Hashim Khan Kakar in a 3-page verdict he authored.
Economists see little room for growth under IMF programme. Economies stuck in low-growth equilibrium as consumers' purchasing power erodes. Exports, energy costs, policy inconsistency remain major hurdles, with the government preparing to roll out its third budget. The economy appears trapped between two competing imperatives: preserving fragile macroeconomic stability to avoid another balance of payments crisis and reviving growth to create jobs and alleviate poverty. If Vladimir Putin's Russia had an official slogan, what would it be? Russia is what it is, and we're not ashamed of showing it. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov once told me in an interview.
Mutare, Zimbabwe, Deres Mutamanjira was ferrying a customer and groceries on her electric tricycle along a dusty and unpaved footpath when traffic police arrested her in eastern Zimbabwe last month. The officers demanded to see the e-tricycle's registration and her driver's licence, which she could not produce. She tried to negotiate, but they fined her $15 on the spot.
An election observation mission from the European Union has denied reports of malfeasance in Colombia's recent presidential race, despite rumours to the contrary. On Tuesday, the head of the EU election observation mission, Esteban González Pons, announced the group's preliminary assessment.
For the past 10 years, Uber's annual Lost and Found Index has provided a rather quirky anthropological snapshot of its riders and even a few insights into society. The annual catalogue of millions of forgotten items ranges from mundane modern-day tools such as smartphones and laptops to more eyebrow-raising objects like live fish, an ankle monitor, a toboggan, a package of live butterflies, and a single Louboutin shoe. This year, Uber is using the report to highlight the same old problem of lost items with a new twist: robotaxis. Thousands of items, it's a bit too new for millions, were left behind in robotaxis on Uber's ride-hailing network. In the past year, the company said Tuesday. There were the usual suspects of phones, keys, wallets, passports, and headphones, along with a few items that strayed into the Who Is This Rider category: a set of dentures, an I Heart Hot Dad's bag, and a blue hat that reads Emotional Support Human.
The federal government on Tuesday, amid deliberations over its ongoing austerity measures, decided to extend the operating hours of shops, markets, restaurants and other commercial outlets, citing longer daylight hours and rising summer temperatures. The decision was taken at a meeting of the Committee for Monitoring and Deputy Prime Minister Austerity Measures, chaired by Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar.
In January 2024, the publication Axios reported that the United States president at the time, Joe Biden, was running out of patience with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Israel's genocidal war on Gaza had been raging for months by that point, and Biden was facing public backlash over US support for the conflict. Data storage security company Sierra is finalising a round led by Evolution Equity Partners of at least $300 million at a $12 billion valuation, according to 4 people with knowledge of the deal. Calculist was first to report the funding deal, although TechCrunch's sources added new details about the company and its financials. The US says it has struck and disabled an unladen oil tanker that was sailing towards Iran as part of Washington's naval blockade on the Strait of Hormuz. US Central Command, CENTCOM, said a US aircraft fired a Hellfire missile into the engine room of the Botswana-flagged MT vessel after its crew ignored repeated warnings.
The administration of US President Donald Trump is abandoning the president's nearly $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund, United States Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche has said, on the heels of a widespread political backlash and legal setbacks. "We are not moving forward with the fund," Blanche told lawmakers on Tuesday after an intense and rare backlash from Republican senators. Period. Microsoft says its new quantum chip is vastly more reliable than its previous version, paving the way for a quantum computer solving commercially useful problems within 3 years. At the heart of quantum computing are qubits, which offer the promise of answering questions that defeat today's machines, but are notoriously delicate and unstable.
In the United States, voters in 6 states are participating in primary elections that will set up the final races in November's critical midterm elections. Tuesday is one of the busiest primary days of the year, with voting underway in Iowa, Montana, New Mexico, New Jersey, South Dakota, and California.
French President Emmanuel Macron has presented a memorial in Paris dedicated to the victims of the 1994 Rwandan genocide, as France pursues closer ties with the East African country and continues to grapple with its role in the historic atrocity. Speaking at the inauguration event alongside his Rwandan counterpart Paul Kagame on Tuesday, Macron said the monument marked the culmination of a long and patient quest for truth.
When I reach out to the self-proclaimed open-source baddie CC for an interview, I'm pretty sure she's emailing me back from a pink mermaid purse. I'm just having so much fun, she tells me about her seashell cyberdeck. It's a Tamagotchi. It's also an e-reader. It's networked to my Vault and my servers, so it has access to all of my server data, which has all my PDFs and books and notes and everything. It's also connected to my local AI setup at home.
Police in Italy have arrested 2 Pakistani nationals for the alleged murder of 4 migrant workers found dead in a burnt-out minivan, according to Italian media reports. The vehicle was found at a petrol station near a village in a vast farming area in the southern Calabria region.
Ukrainians knew a huge strike was coming. Since Russia threatened to step up attacks on the capital, Kyiv, about a week ago, many spent nights in underground shelters. We were 2 floors underground, and yet we could feel and hear the massive explosions above. Then came the Russian drones, possibly carrying more explosives or scouting out the damage done by the missiles. Then more missiles.
The 2026 World Cup will see both Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi line up for their 6th appearances at FIFA's showpiece global event. Both made their debuts for Portugal and Argentina respectively at Germany 2006 and have illuminated every tournament since. Beirut, Lebanon, on Tuesday, representatives from Lebanon and Israel met at the US Department of State in Washington. D.C., the first session of a 2-day round of negotiations that Lebanese negotiators hope will end an invasion of their country. The negotiations, which started at 9 a.m. local time, 13 GMT. Come as Israel's invasion of Lebanon pushes deeper than at any point since the year 2000, and as Hezbollah and Israel continue to trade attacks. Israel has killed 3,468 people in Lebanon since March Tuk, according to Lebanon's Ministry of Public Health.
Even Eid al-Adha, One of the two major holidays of Islam, which took place last week, has not been able to stem a relentless tide of Israeli attacks, demolitions and incursions across occupied Palestine. At least 33 Palestinians were killed and more than 130 wounded over the 4 days of Eid from May 27 to May 30, according to the Gaza Ministry of Health, despite a ceasefire covering the enclave.
A pre-World Cup friendly involving the Democratic Republic of Congo has been cancelled by the mayor of the Spanish town, hosting the football match over health concerns regarding the Ebola outbreak in the African country. I have signed the decree banning the holding of the June 9 match between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Chile, said Juan Franco, mayor of La Línea de la Concepción in southern Spain.
AI is getting expensive and some companies are cutting back on usage in an attempt to moderate costs. That cohort includes Uber, which recently instituted internal usage caps as a way to cut down on its exorbitant AI spend. Bloomberg reports that the company has instituted a new rule that places a monthly $500 cap per employee and per agentic coding tool, including Anthropic's Claude Code or Cursor. The usage is trackable via an internal dashboard that each employee has access to, although, in certain cases, the caps can be exceeded with permission, the company says.
Marta Kostyuk accused Russian players of hiding behind silence over the war in Ukraine, saying after 4 years of conflict, they had shown whose side they are on. As she reached her first Grand Slam semi-final at the French Open, the 23-year-old beat fellow Ukrainian Elina Svitolina 6-3, 2-6, 6-2 in an emotional quarter-final on Tuesday. Played hours after another night of Russian strikes on Kyiv, then launched a scathing attack on Russian players who continue to avoid publicly condemning the war.
Martin Scorsese has signed on as a partner and advisor to AI image generation startup Black Forest Labs. The New York Times reported on Tuesday. The caveat is that one of the world's most famous living directors is using the tech solely for storyboarding.
Audiobook, ebook, or both. Now, you won't have to choose. The Scribd-owned reading subscription service, Everand, wants to make the choice unnecessary. On Tuesday, the company took the wraps off a combined subscription that brings together Everand's catalogue of over 1.5 million audiobooks and ebooks with the social book club app Fable, which Everand acquired in 2025, into a single plan, directly challenging Amazon's dominance in digital reading. The new subscription is available to the two apps' 5 million combined readers and provides access to the over 1.5 million title library of audiobooks and ebooks, plus Fable's nearly 200,000 online book clubs. As you read or listen in one app, that activity is synced to the other. AI researchers and labs have advanced by leaps and bounds in evaluating AI models for everything from safety and compliance to psychophancy and alignment. But it appears companies and developers are faced with a new, specific need, making sure that their AI system behaves as intended for their specific product or service. In a bid to make that testing process simpler, Microsoft on Tuesday took the wraps off ACT, short for Adaptive Spec-Driven Scoring for Evaluation and Regression Testing.